If you are someone who has been natural for a while and has questioned if you should straighten your hair, if you went natural in college, or if you are in college right now and you're going natural or contemplating what you should be doing with your hair while you're at this pivotal time in your life, then you don't want to miss today's episode of Your Hair Made Simple, where we are diving into the question of should I straighten my hair and dealing with narratives of Black college women who are exploring being natural and caring for their hair. So you don't want to miss this episode. I have Dr. Brittany Williams here with me, who wrote a research article, co-wrote this article on just that subject of if we should be straightening our hair. And I'm so excited to just talk about what they learned going into research, understanding the college experiences of women embracing their natural hair. So Brittany, I will turn it over to you to say hello to the people and just share a little bit about what brought about doing this research article, this important work, the Lord's work that you're doing.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Britt Williams. It's interesting, right? So I'm trained in education. I also do a little bit of public health, but most of when I think about the natural hair pieces, it's my role as an educator. And I started in education as a practitioner, working with college students, doing things like residence life and student activities, and how do you sort of build and create that collective sense of belonging, all of those sorts of things, right? And I remember being in my doctoral program, and this research article is actually the brainchild of my really good friend, Dr. John Collier, who was thinking about these sort of tensions we navigate with having natural hair. And we used to joke at the time we did our doctorate together at Georgia, which is coincidentally where I met you, girl.
Yes,
When you were getting your master's as well.
Yeah.
And so we used to make all of these jokes about how all of us had locks in the doc program, or everyone ended up locked at some point during the doc program. And so we started thinking about the realities of negotiating hair as a piece of our identity and how that shows up in the collegiate experience. So for me, before I even get to the article, right, I went natural in college my first year. I remember I went to college my first semester. I had micro braids, which I feel like was sort of a foreshadowing for me ending up with sister locks because I love these tiny little situations here. I feel like I can maneuver, I can finesse it a little bit. I like that. But I remember my first semester, it was time for my braids to come down. There was no one, because I went to college in a small town in New England, to redo my hair. I was doing everybody else's hair and braiding folks' hair, and there was no way I was going to put no micros on myself. And so I was just like, you know what? We just gonna chop it all off. And I did the big chop. I had the TWA. I did the whole shebang, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember flashing forward being at Georgia with Joan and Dr. Collier and I, like thinking about what are some ways we can do research on Black women that really centers a sort of humanistic part of our experience, because people love to say, oh, it's just hair. It's not just hair, right?
Yep.
Like Black women spend so much more on products, on timing, on thinking about appearance and styles of dress, right? And there's also research that says that we materially either benefit or experience consequences based off our hair, our skin complexion, and colorism, based off all of these sorts of things that feel ancillary to what the college environment is supposed to be about. And so Joan really got us sort of jumped off on that, and we just sort of picked it up and thought about, okay, what does it look like to really center, you know what I mean, the Team Natural movement, and to think about all of the ways that YouTube, I feel like, really elevated how we started to think about hair as a critical piece of like Black women's sort of interpersonal identity, how we grow and develop, and then what is the story that we tell about ourselves, right, from our hair. And so this research article was really a way to think about, what do Black college women confront, right? What are the stories or narratives or things that show up when we think about who is rendered visible or who is rendered invisible on a college campus? And one of the go-to examples that was really salient for us, even outside of this research study, when we were at Georgia, we were thinking about, who are the Black women that make it onto the campus brochures? Who are the Black women and girls who are most featured prominently in our Black Greek letter organizations, who are on our flyers, who are very well featured on the Instagram post and all of those sorts of things, right? And so what does that mean and what does that say? Particularly because I feel like there was very much a time where we had that, My Black is Beautiful, 70s, 80s post-Black exploitation film sort of cultural moment of, okay, we love our natural hair, we love our natural hair. In the 90s, I love being Black, but then something weird shifted in the 2000s and everything became about straight hair, and straight hair was everywhere. And we were seeing some of that reflected in the marketing and the branding and the representation of who are Black women and Black college women who can see themselves represented in the college environment.
I love that. And I was so excited to talk about this article and your journey and your story as well, because I went natural in college. So many of my guests that I bring onto the show talk about going natural in college and just the resistance and the pushback. At one point, I was on a university flyer with my parents, and my hair was straight then. Like, it was just very, very different. Even like people in my family being like, "Oh, well, Shannon should be a spokesperson for like a corporate company on a billboard somewhere because she has that look, right?" Like, and my hair was straight at the time, and it's all of those things just always never sat well with me. It made me feel really icky, to be quite honest.
Mhm.
And when I did start wearing my hair natural, I'm on a Southern PWI campus, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Oh, like that, this is not the place for that." Or like, "You need to straighten your hair more often." Just like that pressure. And I was like, "Y'all are losing y'all's hair to this heat. Like, I'm not about to do it. I'm trying to heal. And it's this constant negotiating of like, if I step out into this space, if I step out here today,
Yeah.
what does this mean? Like, what am I going to be met with by anybody, really, by anybody? And so knowing that college is one of the spaces where for the first time, a lot of people are able to own their agency, to own the narratives that they get to create for themselves, right? This is such an important topic. And for you to even see that like in your own journey, right, of how you chose to start out, but then going further on in your education, right, and saying like, I'm trying to navigate my educational space, like I'm navigating my doctoral program, and this is still something that I think about. It's never something that we
Mhm.
ever like really truly stop thinking about. Maybe the environments around us shift, but how we are navigating and negotiating, it's constantly there. And college is probably one of the first starting points where we have to really think about that on our own terms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for you, I'm wondering, right? Like the question of should I straighten my hair? And you kind of already alluded to some of the social and historical context of it, right?
Mhm.
Naming in the article this question, should I straighten my hair? What comes to your mind like just when you think of that question?
Yeah, I think about the tensions of what do we sort of deem or center as professionalism in a United
Mhm.
States context, right? And so our article is based in a PWI. I graduated primarily from or exclusively from PWIs,
Yeah.
with the exception of K through 12. Shout out to Atlanta Public Schools. Thank you so much. It is wonderful to have a bunch of Black educators reflect you back to you. But for
Mm.
most of my collegiate and postgraduate experiences, I've been in predominantly white institutions, a lot of land grant public schools. I now work at the eldest public institution in New England. And so for me, I'm always thinking about what these environments sort of communicate to us around like professionalism and who gets to
Yeah.
feel like they have a sense of belonging and what do we consider professional, right? So if you even think about this article came out before the Crown Act, right? It took
Right.
us having an entire law and policy like generated, created, doing buzz around it, having it passed for us to be able to say that it is untenable, like the situation that Black women are in relating to our natural hair and our ability to wake up and go to work as we are, as we were born, right?
Mhm.
And just the expectations around the amounts of things that we're supposed to do. And so when I think about that question of should I straighten my hair, I'm thinking about what are the lost opportunities and the material consequences Black women face who choose not to buy into this idea of lightness is right, of straight hair is right,
Yeah.
of being and approximating yourself as close to whiteness effectively as what it is in order to be received as professional. And often it means a loss of opportunities, right? I think about
Yeah.
all the conversations around news anchors and how we think about their appearance all the time. And these are folks who are in the media on the day-to-day basis, right? And our participants even thinking about in the research study, this is the career path I'm trying to go down. Can I actually be natural? Will I be embraced for being natural? And we are the only people who have to sit and ask ourselves those questions.
Yeah.
And then on against the backdrop of having to like reflect on those questions every day and thinking about how do I avoid discrimination in my career outcomes and these opportunities? There's also the health implications of what it looks like to straighten our hair, right? So you can end up with heat damage, right? Even if you are natural and you decide to straighten your hair a lot. If you use chemical straighteners, we know that those are now associated with a higher risk of cancer and all of these sort of physiological and biological changes that happen to us because we are putting chemicals directly on our scalp, which is seeping into our bloodstreams directly. And so for me, when I think about the tension in that question, it's not just should I straighten my hair to be professional, but what sort of decisions am I making now that are going to shape my life for the foreseeable future, but not just my life in terms of finances and job
Yep.
opportunities, but also my health and wellness.
Yes. And the health and wellness being something that so many of us, one, don't even look at it from that perspective. But even if we are still heavily weigh the option of compromising for ease, for convenience, for the ability to show up and navigate spaces with less perceived concern, right? Like less perceived concern, for lack of a better way to put it. And
Yeah.
it's something that we are constantly faced with. We are constantly like juxtaposing those
Yeah.
two decisions when it comes to it. So as we like have dived into this question, right? And I love that you pulled the wellness perspective into it, right? Some of that healthcare research, but it truly being that like health and wellness is our quality of life. Like we're really weighing our quality of life in the balance of these things. And so as you progress through this article, right, and you had your research and your findings and the women that you were able to explore, what were some of the findings, right? Like what were some of the things that you found, some of the things that were most, I guess, like affirming and most shocking to like see as you kind of went through the process?
Yeah, good question. I feel like some of the most affirming pieces were the participants saying, like, my hair shouldn't matter as much as it does in the ways that it do, right? And so thinking about how Black women's hair is really politicized and how we can think our hair is beautiful and we're navigating our hair being beautiful, but then our family, right? Family came up as a source of tension, particularly for one of our participants whose mom freaked out and oh my God, and she's crying and in tears because her daughter cut her beautiful long hair and she wanted to go natural and all of these things, right? So when I think about those findings, I think about how even the decisions around our hair are not just ours alone. They're not made in isolation. Other people feel ownership or feel communal investment in the decisions we make around our hair and our beauty, and that being a really big piece of it. I think another part about that sort of came up that feels shocking, but not so if you've been on social media at any point. The number of participants who talked about seeing Black women fired or pushed out of the mainstream or being told you need to wear a wig if you have a media or outward or customer facing role, or you need to have straight hair, you need to put chemicals on your hair, right? And so listening to participants think about, I'm in college. This is being communicated to someone who's in a professional role that I eventually want to end up in myself. What does that sort of say, or how does that set me up, or what are my sort of negotiation options as I'm sitting here and thinking about the future of my career? I think that's a big piece. The other part of it was about the time investment, right? Like I remember back in the day when I decided to cut my hair, and I love being natural, and I was a loose natural at the beginning of the sort of YouTube beauty movement, right? I think
Yep.
about all of those accounts and all of those folks who sort of popped up and made some of these things possible because they really did shape how I thought about my natural hair. Like we
Yeah.
in this article, we even do an acknowledgement section where we say thanks to Dominique Banks and Michi Monroe
Mhm.
and Kim Love of Love Naturals for being like the YouTube girlies that we were thinking about when we went natural in college. But I think a big piece of it is also around how much time it takes to do your hair, right? And then what are the constraints and parameters around it because of that time and investment? How many Black women and girls aren't going swimming as often as they could or aren't taking swimming lessons because they're worried about keeping their hair straight, aren't investing in fitness and exercise and these other forms of mobility and things that make us feel good, right? Like we're both outdoors girls. I love a good hike.
Look, got
Who invite me? Like I'm going.
need to be there
Like,
yesterday.
okay, I love a
Let's
natural
summit the
park.
mount.
Okay. And so for me, if that's the reality and that's the case and that's like a thing, and you start thinking, oh my God, I want to go hiking, but what about my hair? Or I have to re-straighten my hair. Okay, that's a 2, 3, whatever, however many hour process. Then it's even in like the decision becomes made for you
Yeah.
because you have to think about, do I pay now or do I pay later? And how often are we waking up so many more hours earlier than everyone else to get up in the morning just to get ready for the same job, for the same roles at the same pay, while also concurrently spending more on our hair, on our beauty, on our appearances more than everyone else. And so I loved how our participants really troubled that notion of these external expectations. Like, I ain't got time to put heat on my hair right now. You got to find somebody else to do it. There are other things I'm trying to do. I'm here to get my lesson. I'm here to navigate. I'm here to learn something new. And so we place all of these constraints and boundaries around young Black women and girls
Yeah.
because we're saying you have to do this. And then some of them are choosing to resist, which even leads to our last finding, right? Of the community of naturals. You see a natural girl, you like, hey, sis, I see you. Or every time I see somebody with locks and I'm walking down the street, yes, locks, right?
Love your
And just
hair.
how we communicate to each other to affirm one another because we know it is not just hair and it's not that simple.
No, I look, I'm just like, claps, right? Claps to the women in the research study. So much of it, I'm laughing because as you're talking about the experience of how much time, right? Like going natural for me, like honestly, it has been a big time saver. Like people talk about the time of wash day, but the time that I saved throughout the duration of a week to 2 weeks,
Yeah.
like you have to know like the cadence of how long your hair can last, like based on other properties. But like that was a game changer for me. I remember one time in college, I tried to straighten my hair and I woke up super early, like 6 a.m. 5. Like my class was like at
Yeah.
noon. I missed my whole first 3 hour like block of classes. Like my hair didn't, I just was so frustrated. I felt so defeated. And also it was just like I probably am still recovering from heat damage. So that I even need to do this. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't feel confident, right? And so I think part of it is like how much time do we spend investing in trying to make our hair into styles that will please other people, right? Versus styles that will be complementary to our hair in its natural state, that will be complementary to the lifestyles that we want to live and please ourselves, right? That we
Yeah.
can walk in and find confidence in. I remember the woman that you were reading, talking about when I was reading through the article and how her mom was like freaking out just about her cutting her
Yeah.
hair. And I think about when how much we have to silence external voices, especially when we're in seasons of not even just our hair change in general. Your natural hair is like going natural. I feel like is more than anything a very large season of change and learning, right? Like you're vulnerable because we've never done this before. We've probably been doing something else this whole time. And now we have to learn this new thing. And maybe we're learning it in a space that does not feel safest or around people that do not feel safe. And so like, how do we build that internal mechanism that's going to drive us to choose the choices that are best for our wellness and overall well-being? Like some of the voices I had to silence, like when I was first doing twist and my hair was heat damaged and limp and they didn't like it. And they're like, oh, your hair used to be so pretty. It used to be X, Y, and Z. And it's like,
Yeah.
nope, silence, like silence. And when I did listen to them, what happened? I got my hair straightened and a section of my hair got singed off. Okay. On Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving and me.
Oh, not when you got to see the whole family.
Girl, little golden flecks. Like it was literally a section this long. I was like, that's so odd. There was more hair attached to that, and the ends was golden in college on Thanksgiving. And so I love that there are the women who are pushing back, right? And creating a sense of community, because I think the more the sense of true community is found, the more that it encourages others to be drawn in instead of pushed out, right?
Yeah.
And so those were some of the affirming pieces, right? And I think what were some of the, I guess like the narratives or things that kind of like gave you pause, right? Like no one's natural journey or story is the same. I think we have a lot of similar experiences. Were there anything that like when you were going through this, or even with the folks that you were working with, right? Like with Dr. Collier, with Brenda, with all the folks in there, anything that y'all were processing together or through this study that kind of just surfaced up something that's like, like I haven't given thought to that before?
Yeah, as a research team, something we were talking a lot about is this sort of resistance and shift in like who either vocalize their attraction to us or said things about attraction and beauty to us relating to natural hair. And so navigating how particularly Black men responded to our hair. And so I tell folks all the time, my favorite thing about when I went natural was it changed the kind of men who were attracted to me. So I've always, for me as a light skinned person who recognizes I have complexion privilege, right? And I know that light skin privilege is real because there are people who pretend like colorism is not a thing.
Yeah.
We have too much data. It's a real thing, right? But for me, knowing that, I'm like, okay, I know what to be on the lookout for. Anytime a man is like, oh, I love your skin, I'm like, do you mean how smooth and pretty it is? Or you mean my skin color?
Yeah.
Because if you answer B instead of A, you already out. We
Yeah.
can't even go on a date. I'm not dealing with that, right? And so then I started to think about, oh, what are the ways I could do that with my natural hair? Right? Because I remember when I first cut my hair off, and this man said to me directly, you used to be so fine, but now you look like a butch lesbian. And I was like, I'm gagged a little bit, gagged and goofed a little bit. But also, shout out to the butch girlies. And you're not about to play in my face because I look good no matter how my hair is. And so we were really talking about navigating some of those comments for men. And I feel like it changed the kind of men who approach me.
Yeah.
Because you have to be a Black man who is secure in his Blackness in particular to walk up on a Black woman with natural hair and be like, you're fine. I like what I see. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's even interesting too, because while I felt like it changed the trajectory of Black men who interacted with me, I had a significant increase of white men who expressed attraction to me after I went natural, which I feel like did not happen when my hair was straight. And so,
Yeah.
there's all of these weird
Yeah.
sort of intersections. And like, again, like this is a very like hetero way of thinking about this, but it
But
really
your
is what
experience,
sort
yeah.
of rooted in my experience and how I sort of navigated some of that. And so I think there's also the piece of us as a research team being natural and it coinciding with like President Obama's election and
Mhm.
what felt like a sort of first century blackness and black
Yeah.
centric sort of identity movement and context around the world around us. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like those pieces kept coming up and we were thinking about them as we were writing and editing the article and
Yeah.
trying to think about what are the other ways we want to resist. I remember Kaylin, who's in the article, talking about because she has very soft hair and people saying, or they, I'm sorry, they use they pronouns now. And they saying that they have very soft hair or whatever. And people say, oh, you got good hair. And them being like, don't do that.
Nope.
Right. And being the
You
person
gotta
who's like,
check
I'm
people.
going to resist respectability politics and I'm gonna check this person for saying this. And like, what is good hair?
Yep.
Right? What does it mean to have good hair? Who's the arbiter or sort of decider in what
Yeah.
qualifies? And so I think about all of those things and just this sort of honestly sense of pride I felt with writing this article well before I feel like the national media started paying
Yeah.
attention to the significance and importance of natural hair. Because for me, as an educator and as a researcher, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not think about the full conditions of my students' lives and how that shapes whether or not they are experiencing the college environment in its fullness, or whether there are some boundaries or parameters or constraints around how they get to be engaged, right? Who gets to make decisions or feels agency or feels ownership in the college process? I'm invested in that. And I want
Yep.
Black girls to show up on the college campus where they're
Yep.
paying tuition just like everybody else. I don't care if you on a 100% scholarship. You pay tuition.
Yep.
Somebody put it in your name
Somebody
like
pay it
everybody
forward.
else. And I want you to feel that ownership of that college environment. And for me, that includes thinking about your hair, thinking about your internship opportunities, thinking about how networking or all of these other things sort of show up or manifest or intersect with
Yeah.
how your appearance allows people to experience and receive you.
Who picks the people?
Mhm.
Mm. My brain is still gagged a little bit on the audacity of
I
the man.
know.
I'm
First
like,
of all,
but in the back of
first
my
of all,
brain, it's like,
I got a little masculine of center energy, and it's real fun over here. So thank you, sir.
yeah, that like took my whole thoughts. I was sitting here, I was like, I had thoughts. But then I'm just back to
Mhm.
like, no, because as nobody can tell on this camera, but as a petite woman who people comment on my body often.
You need to show them a picture of the two of us standing next to each other before my weight loss because we look like
I
caricatures. I'm
collect
tall
tall
millennial.
friends. As somebody who is not over 5 feet, I collect tall friends. It's like Pokemon. I gotta catch them all, okay? Like I'm gathering hugs.
Listen,
I'm that fun short friend. But
true.
as somebody who people comment on strangers in the grocery store, strangers
Mhm.
comment on my body often, I am often appalled at how strangers feel unauthorized agency to just speak whatever onto you. And that's about our bodies, but hair things in general. So that's, I think, why that is really just so jarring to me as somebody who experiences it. And I often am checking people on it. Like, if I was
Mhm.
to just call out your least favorite thing about yourself randomly in a grocery store, like, how would you feel? Like, I really
Yeah.
want people to like challenge themselves a little bit in that. And not even least favorite thing. It could be somebody's favorite thing, but the thing that you find interesting or different about somebody, right? In a way that is not like positive, kind, or affirming. Like if it was on the other foot, like how would you feel about that, right? But I love that it's a filter for the quality that you want to allow into your life. Like, and I think it really is more of a testament to like when you allow yourself to walk in a quality of being that is better for you, your health, your well-being, it filters out things that are not aligned. And that also comes with people, that comes with environments and places, and it opens up new doors and new things to places and people that will be aligned. So I love that perspective. And I'm also smiling because I literally have on a shirt. I don't know if you can see. I wish I could like, maybe I'll stand up, but my shirt says like good hair, what grows from my head, what grows from your head. As like, this is like our
Yes.
signature tees we have on the shop and your hair made simple and like our all hair is good hair mugs and merch. But literally because of that, it's like, who gets to say like what good hair is? Like people compliment me on my hair, but then there's lots of other people that actually don't and have said like very weird and off-putting things to me. And so it's just like good hair is literally the hair that grows from our head. It's like whatever state you put it in, are you caring for it? Are you treating it with health? Are you treating it with kindness? Are you making decisions? Because it's an extension of us, right? Like it's an extension of us. And the more we pour into our hair health, it's impacting, right? Like you said, the things that are going into our bloodstream, the things that are going into our skin, because your scalp is just skin on your head. Your scalp is just skin on your head.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say is like navigating the mental load and the agency in these different decisions, right? Because sometimes we can have like physical responses to stress that can show up in our hair, right? And honestly, like navigating a lot of this stuff, it can be stressful. It can be stressful, especially it can make you anxious. It can just do all these things, right? And so I interview Dr. Ayana Abrams, and that's one of the things she talks about of like, how can we practice more like grace? How can we practice kindness with ourselves to better navigate those roads, right? To better navigate like all the things that we're weighing and balancing in our natural hair choices. Because like you said in your article, lots of people describe it as a journey. We always talk about the natural hair journey. And it's like, how do we best pack for it? What are the tools? Like, how do we best equip for the journey?
I love that. How do we best pack for it? That
I know I'm gonna have to take that somewhere and do something with it before the episode release.
you should.
Yeah, no, maybe some little kits, maybe some little kits, maybe with our products. But I, again, just especially in college, and I think the things that we set for ourselves become foundational for how we carry ourselves forward in life. So for the people who have had this opportunity to really navigate within this environment and equip themselves with skill sets to carry forward. But I think maybe even so, like you all were doing this article and you're in your doctoral journey, you're studying collegiate women. I'm curious, were there any takeaways for folks for like who have found themselves post-campus life, right? But just like understanding how they're navigating natural hair, the takeaways, knowing kind of the experiences that they may have or could have encountered, right? And carrying that forward, like tips that they could maybe take away from it.
Yeah, I would say that you have agency in all the decisions you want to make about who you are and how you show up. And it is perfectly okay to reinvent yourself, right? Like one of my like least favorite things about the current pop culture moment is how people frame 30. Like I got to do this by 30. I got to achieve this by 30. I got to have this by 35. I got to do this by 40. No, every day that you are alive and you are on this side of the dirt, word to my parents, we're very Southern, right? Every day that you're on this side of the dirt, you can reinvent yourself. And so I think about that as a form of hair and how our hair is a way that we can communicate and express how we are sort of traversing or moving through life. I don't remember who makes that quote, a woman who's about to change her hair or cuts her hair or whatever it is.
Change her life. I think it's just one of them colloquial quotes, but yeah.
I think about that quote all the time because I remember like my locks were super long and I cut them very short. And this was maybe 2 years ago now.
I worked on it.
Yeah. And so, and they were down my back and folks, oh my God, your hair is so long and da, da, da. And I was like, no, I'm getting a little bit, I got lazy. I wasn't doing my deep conditioning on a weekly basis. I wasn't washing it consistently. And just because it was long, I was like, oh, I have length. And I noticed I was starting to rest on my length laurels, for lack of better language. So I'm like, no, it's time to disrupt this. And it was the perfect timing because I had just gone through a breakup. So I was like, let me cut my hair. Let me release my hair. Let me release this man. Let me release this toxicity. Let me release all of these things from my life. And so now, for me as someone who is locked and loves to change it up, I'm changing it up with color. I'm trying to find me a nice color artist who I really want to dye my hair like silver and purple. I know that's out there, but I have felt called.
Are we doing the eyebrows to match it?
With the purple undertone. I don't know yet.
Okay.
But I saw something on Pinterest with that and I was, thank you. I know if you are a color artist who is listening and you feel like you can do that, let me know because I'm loving my ginger and my blonde and it's been good, but I'm like, no, I want to try something different because I have the agency and the freedom to do so. And I have spent so much time and so much energy cultivating this life and career that I have cultivated. I have worked so hard to get to where I am. I'm going to be the fullest version of myself in wherever it is that I have decided to arrive. And so I think that is a big takeaway from this article, right? Like these are young folks who are very early on, like their prefrontal cortex has not even fully developed yet, who are trying to figure out how to navigate and traverse the realities of the world. And now, once you're post-collegiate, you are developed. You do have a better sense of who you are. And if you knew who you were and life happened, you got divorced, you had a baby, you're figuring out who you are that's different and separate from being a wife and a mom, or from being partnered and unpartnered, or from being a caregiver, or whatever the case may be. The time to reinvent yourself the best time was yesterday. The next best time is today. And tomorrow's is just as good as any, right?
Mhm.
Like that's my go-to, right? It's always a good time. And so I think for me, having done this research project and thinking about reinvention, that is what I carry from this article. Like it is
Yeah.
perfectly okay for you to think about your hair as a way to communicate to the world who you are, how you are, and constant reinvention. And you can change that all the time. Also, take that PTO. Now, here's why I'm saying that.
Okay.
Take that PTO, go get your hair braided, go get your hair colored, go get your hair washed, go to I've seen those Instagram ads for the hair spas, and I've seen a few with some natural girls. So I'm
Mhm.
absolutely going to find one that will do it for a natural girly. Like, yes, I want my scalp massage. I want some deep conditioning.
Yeah.
I want some things going on. Like, take the time and energy. Take that day off work. Take that day off from family. Take that day off from being a parent or whatever else you're doing, and really allow yourself to lean into and love on your hair.
I love that. And even if it's not like a natural hair spa, like I treat my wash days. Well, now I'm doing wash day lives with you guys, right? But even the pre prep for that on Sundays, like my wash days are my self-care time. So it's like, okay, I'm doing this mask. Like, let me do my hair. Like, even if I'm cooking and doing other things, but it's like, what are the things that I need to do where I need to slow down a little bit and take care of myself? And how can I like make sure that I am incorporating those things and like it's more in the flow, right? Like your hair made simple. We have our products, but I small make them in small batches, handmade. I make my own stuff. Like maybe I'm doing a
Mhm.
mask today. Like, how can you just infuse little moments of care, whether it's a spa or like you treating yourself like you're at the spa. Put on a comfy robe while you do your hair. Like what are things James Clear talks about habit stacking, right? Like what is something that
Yeah.
like you're gonna enjoy that you can do with something that you're learning how to enjoy to make it like better and more comparable of an experience for you. So I love that. And then Brittany, we interviewed, and for those listening, if you're interested in color, we interviewed Sandy. She's a master colorist, master cosmetologist and colorist, and she's based in Atlanta. And she has this beautiful, like silver, kind of like platinum. Platinum is the color here in the episode. And so if you are somebody who is looking for someone who specializes in color, tell Sandy that your hair made simple kinship. And you can find her episode, and it was I think maybe our first episode of the year of 2025. Maybe you're
Okay.
just thinking it's somewhere in January 2025. But no, she's brilliant. I was in there asking, I'm like, what's the difference between colors? What's a permanent and a semi-permanent? As a color
Yeah.
averse girly. So like really just thinking through the health of your hair in addition to like getting the color. Because some people will take you to color and they will fry your hair in the process. So
Mhm.
asking for the right knowledge base and information um, is super, super important in that process, right?
Yeah.
But how do we make hair fun? How do we make hair fun, but also not compromise our health in the
Yeah.
process, right? And to be able to lean into our identities, lean into who we want to be, the best versions of ourselves, and honestly be all in. That was my message at church this weekend, guys. Like Pastor Brian Bullock, he came in there, he was like, Jesus had to be all in. He had to get approved by God. He had to learn. He still had to go,
Yeah.
show up and do some stuff. So you not showing up, but Jesus had to. And I said, oh, read me from Phil. But truly, but all that to say, it really had me reflecting on like what it means to be all in. And sometimes all in with our health and our hair is making different decisions, making different
Yeah.
choices, choosing to commit to the journey, the process for better, for good. And so, like Brittany just said, like there's no bad time to do that. Your feet touch the ground today, touch dirt this side of earth. I love that. Tell you.
I'm fine. As long as I'm on this side of the dirt. Like, oh
Tell you,
God.
I love that. She said, Shannon took a quote from you guys.
Mhm.
It's so important and necessary. My heart is just so full. Well, as we wind down, for any final pieces of advice you give, because you just left us with a bar and a banger, but any final pieces of advice you would give to the Black women who are in college, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, LOLs, we've been in college, we've worked at colleges and universities, we've mentored and nurtured, right? Like, I do have
I
a
get older and
background.
they say the same.
Baby, okay. And so, having like done this article, but also like worked in this space and now like being a practitioner for so much more years after doing it, um, what would you give to like the women who are like they're pre 25, right? The brain lobes haven't fully formed yet, but they're on campus and they're navigating, making these choices or trying to decide to start.
I would say it is okay to make whatever decision you feel most comfortable with now, and you are allowed to change your mind. You are not locked into a decision because you made that decision. Any decision that you make around your hair is a decision that can be changed. There's nothing that's permanent. Locks are not even permanent, right? We can comb them out, we can color, we can remove color. We can be natural, we can relax, we can go natural again, we can vacillate between the two as many times as it feels comfortable for us. And so I think it's important for, if you are a young person who's like, oh, I don't know what to do, give yourself some time and space. Now, here's the other thing: wear them braids on vacation so you can get in that water and so you can enjoy, right? And so think about those styles and protective styles and options and opportunities that you have to be able to exercise some new things. If you want to try a new color, but you're not ready to commit, let's get some wigs. Let's make it fun, right? I think for me, hair is supposed to be. I think about, there was this makeup artist, Tamana. I can't remember her full name, but she had this whole series called Dress Your Face. And I used to love that she said that when I was first getting into makeup, because she's like, no, you dress your body. Why don't you dress your face? And thinking about makeup as a way to really sort of dress who you are. I think about my hair the same way. I spend a lot of time on my appearance, not because I'm worried about other people, but because I want you to know that how I invest in myself and how I'm showing up as myself is a direct reflection of what I expect you to shine back onto me. How I show you me is how you're supposed to treat me back, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I don't have off days. It doesn't mean I'm not wearing my sweatpants. It doesn't mean whatever. But I always am thinking about, how do I sort of communicate myself to other people in ways that they can understand, while also recognizing you are not the representative of all Black folks. There is diversity in Blackness. And as a young person, it is not your sole responsibility to hold this and to be trying to undo hundreds of years of colonialism by yourself and viewing yourself as like the sole sort of statement mirror.
Yep.
And we have to ask questions of our environment. We need to interrogate the decisions that we're making. We need to think about diversity and representation and Blackness and how we're showing up and who are we sort of centering or decentering in our collegiate environments. And so when I think about advice I want young people to take, that's really what it is, right? Like, this is a time for you to experiment. I tell people all the time, I made the most of college. I had 2 regrets. They worked on me. So I didn't try anything. I'm too old to be developing habits in my 30s at this point. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. College is a time for you to try some stuff. Okay. And then I didn't do study abroad. And so I made up for that in graduate school. And I did study abroad in graduate school. And I centered travel and like external learning opportunities as a big piece of who I am today. And so, yeah, like, college is the place for you to figure out who you are, how you are, why you are, and for you to ask some of those questions. And so I think our hair is just another way that we can sort of interrogate some of those things. And if you don't have time to do it, you ain't got time to do it. Get the locks, get those braids, allow yourself time and freedom and flexibility. Because I will say, I notice when my locks aren't put together and I'm always complaining. I'm like, dang, I need a color touch up. I need a this, I need a that. And my friend's like, what are you talking about? Whatever. I know what I'm looking at and how I want to present my hair, because I love it and it's mine and it grows and I get to nourish it and see how it reflects back to me how I treat it.
You see, college. The DARE program did not work on Dr. Britt Williams well enough.
It did. That's why I didn't do anything. And now I can't try anything because I'm too old. I'm too old to develop new habits. I don't have time for that.
I feel like,
The
honestly,
only habits I can develop are healthy. I'm out at the gym. I'm doing my Pilates. I'm on my hikes. I'm doing whatever. But like, seriously, we take life way too seriously and then not seriously enough at the same time. There has to be some space in the middle.
I feel
We gotta figure out the middle.
I feel like you got to navigate with wise bounds. And I only say that because I feel like I have seen the people that experimented and they never came back up. And so I'm grateful to be up.
Mhm.
No. But friend, this is how we are friends in real life. You could can you tell the dichotomy? Can you tell the dynamic? But I the study abroad thing as well. But now you're getting to go somewhere amazing. She has carved out some time for us before she goes on a super amazing, fun trip. Follow her at Dr. Britwill. You'll see all of her life and adventures and where she's going and headed.
Yeah.
But as we say that, I'm going to ask you my favorite last question, which is, if you could say one affirmation to your hair right now, what would it be?
I am because you are.
That's a gospel song. It's literally like, I am because of you, but it's about Jesus, clearly not your hair. But that's, I am because you are.
I love it. I just, like, for me, I will never live on earth again without sister locks. Like that, I love my locks. They mean the absolute world to me. And
Yeah.
so when I think about affirming my hair, like, I get to have the freedom, the flexibility, the get up and go, the wash it when I need to take care of it how I want to. The sometimes I can slip into some bad patterns, but I can always bring
Yeah.
it back, right? I think of my hair very much like I think about a plant, and it just gives me everything that I need, and I get to see it as sort of the crown on my head every time I wake up, and that brings me joy.
Yeah. No, I love the plant analogy. I got a couple plants. This is our faux podcast friend, but I have real plant friends. And you have to care for them. You have to nourish them, but it's also a reflection of yourself. Like, are you remembering to care for the things in your life, and how do you build that into your own journey and well-being? So I am, yeah, because you are. I love that. All right. Well, guys, that's all we have for today's episode. If you want to learn more about our merch, you can check it out on the site at yourhairmadesimple.com in our shop. And same with our nourishing hair butters and oils. Of course, all of the other episodes that we referenced are up on YouTube for you to watch. And Brittany, thank you for joining us and sharing your knowledge with everyone. And if you have listened till the end, then until next time, remember that all hair is good hair and your hair is good hair. So we'll see you next time. We'll see you on TikTok Live for wash days. We'll see you in our newsletters. All the things at the link in the description below. See you on TikTok Live